No reira, tēnā koutou katoa. Ngā mihi, ngā mihi, ngā mihi. Um, we've got some that can't make it tonight, or have got conflicts, and so I'm hoping that everyone's okay with us recording um, our sessions. It's only going to go amongst the team of us. And we, depending on how our session goes and what's talked about before we send it out tonight, which will be on our page or to Roma through email, we'll just get that confirmed that folk are happy with it being sent out. Ka pai tēnā, right? Can you hear me all right? I've got my voice is a bit. Man, it's really good seeing you all. Ngā mihi atu. Kia ora whaia. Hi, Margaret. It's good to see you there. Is Joanne on with us yet? Where is she?
I've just sent the number because she couldn't go through that Zoom link. So she's got the number and the passcode. I think she's just trying to get in now.
Okay.
Mm.
So let's just do a little bit of housekeeping first. For integrity, we need to be online at least by 1:45 to sort out this stuff here. We shouldn't be sorting this stuff out in our session so that we can start off at 7 o'clock and go through. So that gives us that 15 minutes to make sure we're all online, we're all okay, and then we can go away and get a cup of tea or something before we start up at 7 o'clock. Ka pai tēnā? Is that all right? Okay. Second one is I've resent the invitation for the Zoom links out to everyone today, about half an hour ago. Now, what that does, it also adds it to your calendar. So it pops up until the end of August on Monday nights. And so all you have to do there, you'll get a reminder 15 minutes beforehand, but you just go in there, click on the link, and then it'll open up in there. So it means it doesn't matter where you go, you've got that in your calendar, whatever device you're using around the place. I'm trying not to send copies of that link to the different platforms we've got. Otherwise, we're going to get stuck. This will start happening. We're getting confused which one we're using, because the one that we use for our whakawhanaungatanga time is different to the link that I've sent through. Yeah. So next week, let's get on 15 minutes beforehand, sort out all the technical stuff, making sure that we're all visible and we see each other. And then you can go away and get a cup of tea and so forth. And then we can start getting ready at 7 o'clock to get going. Sorry to the Panmure team. I was hoping to be over there. I'm actually in Te Tiatatu at the moment. But it's half an hour ago, I was coughing and splutting around, and I've got a honey and lemon apple cider drink here, trying to soften my voice. So yeah, I would have been over there, but I just don't want to spread the colds and flus around the place. It's actually really cold down here. I was like, oh man, it's cold in Auckland. I think I'm but man, it must be cold down your fellas' way there, Leonie. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Josh, for opening in prayer for us. Thanks, Leonie, for your karanga kia tātou, and our waiata. Yeah, it's good to keep practicing and building our confidence up. How is everyone? Let's just quickly go around. We had a busy week, so let's just quickly go around from so on my top left side, I've got Joshua, and then we'll go to Leonie. You need to change your name there, King. Ngawaka, Joel, Lorraine number 2, Joanne, and Te Amo Haere. Ka pai? How's things since we were together last weekend?
Yeah, good. Just been relaxing from the wānanga we had. Was pretty tired the next day, but yeah, just getting my energy.
Kia ora koutou. Haven't been relaxing, but that's okay. That would have been awesome. Glad that you could stop. I've been well. We've been well. Just feel like we hit the ground running after our wānanga up north. And Greg and I have been doing lots of talking about the things that we experienced and the kōrero that happened there. So it's been a good week reflecting, and then mahi. So kia ora. Ken, sorry, Ngawaka and Danielle. Kia ora.
Kia ora whānau. I couldn't stop beaming after the wānanga. Our hiding at home. We were just kind of recapping of what we had just experienced, and I'm still on a high from it. Like it was so beautiful. When we went out to with the matua Hurianga, he's still sitting in my mind. Like all his conversations, they felt like it was his tupuna telling him, and that childness of him expressing his stories, I felt it. So, and leaving there too, like when we went over to the whenua, man, I learned so much. And I love the sundial or the northeast, like, and I would love, I left with so many ideas for what I would like to try and incorporate at home and in a safe space. Like, even though I didn't know the other people, they were actually really lovely and inviting, and we were all having communications, and it was lovely to meet you guys, kanohi ki te kanohi. Yeah, so I.
Kia ora tātou, ai, ka nui te mihi ki au koutou whakawāti mai te wāhanga mā tātou, nei rā te mihi. Man, it's been a really busy month for me personally. I was at a tangi over in Australia for my Samoan auntie, who was 82. And that stirred a lot of spiritual energy, I think, and then came back and had a 3-day wānanga for iwi on Great Barrier Island in Ngāti Rehua. And that was inspiring because it's the first hui in 40 years we didn't fight or drink or have a go at one another. And I could tell by the laughing, you must have those peaceful times all the time. And so when it was happening, it was like a bit of a dream come true. And then I was at the hui a tāne in Awanui with the brothers, talking about mental health and keeping our young men and, well, all men alive and well on the inside, on the outside, and then rock up to ngā pau amorangi in Kaikohe. It was like, oh, hello, what's happening here? And then boom, we're at the hui a Māori iri. So yeah, it's just, I like people, but sometimes, man, you can get peopled out and get sick after functions, So yeah, it's been 4 different types of events, but all kingdom from my perspective, because where is the Lord not present, with his people, and if you have a spirit, where can the spirit not go? So I don't try to divide things up into tapu and no, sacred or secular, kind of like try to navigate best as I can. And yesterday, well, I will change my name. That Ken there, something about my email won't let me change it, but I'll find a way. I'll find some magic. Yeah, just reflecting on our hui itself. I still have a very Western mind, so I'm like, who's in year 1, 2, and 3? What kind of leadership we're doing? Oh, next minute we're at the Tomokanga. Oh, okay, that's cool. And then, and then the tikanga of the Nota, even though I've got northern whakapapa ties, I've practiced mostly Waikato Tainui and mostly Ngāti Whātua. So even more in Te Arawa. So it was a bit of a shock. I was like, oh, sun's going down, hurry up, hurry up. No, leave the door open, stand by the door. So yeah, one of my highlights, anyway, was you just really honoring and respecting the rohe of Tai Tokero, and in particular, the Pū Te Wheke, I guess, and Ngāti Rehia. Because I can't, I look around the room, you're all amazing people, but I'm like, how do we do it here? And you did really well on both sides to hold the mana, and I was impressed with that. It motivated me to actually get up and fight kōrero. I didn't want to, because when you see guns on the pie or the taumata, you find the way to the back of the room. So I was kind of like, yeah, inspired by that, but also what Danielle was saying, just the second day being on the whenua outside. You know, you told us from the beach side that the land over there had been given back. You told a story, but it was just going in as facts, but we got to actually experience it with you and your sons, and you know, stand on the land and look around, and then it sort of sparked that verse for me. Now to him who is able to do more than all we ask or imagine. And so I could see you and your bloomin' imagining, whoa, imagine this, imagine that. I'm looking down, looking at that sundial, you know, maramataka dial, you know, that thin line between imagination and whakaputanga, you know, when it comes out, you know, it manifests. Maybe that's another word. But yeah, I was inspired. I didn't tell you because I don't know. I'm telling you now. And so and then to be with Matua Te Hurihanga, that's always a special space. I always reckon that's a hikoi that all Māori Christians should take. It's like a pilgrimage, you know, the Wailing Wall for the Jews, and the Wall of China for the Chinese. No. But you know, but you know, or ihi's like that, man. We all felt it, you know, the sanctity and the specialness of that actual, you know, mataka, and that was all cool. So, and then you're supposed to sort of carry that home, but it sort of spills out, and you're like, "Wow, did we misinterpret that? Did that go right? Did I understand this?" And so, yeah, it was actually a turning point, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to carry on with Ngā Pau Amorangi, if it was just another course I've done on leadership. I've done a few now, and this is, yeah, now that experience with you as a team, together as Māori, with that kiwaha stepping into the deep blue, that's been quite significant. And maybe Joel and I and Danielle will tell you about it more later on. Ka pai.
Very good. Ka pai. Go, Joel. Your team.
Yeah, yeah, lots of things from the weekend. Definitely came home a bit tired, but yeah, we didn't really get much of a rest. We had lots of stuff to do when we got back as well. Also had a tangi last week, another sister in Christ who was quite close to us, so we had that going on as well. But also, I think I know that I can find rest in this space, in what we're doing here, and so finding that place of rest and resting in Him, and not striving too much, or even doing things, yeah, maybe in my own strength. So I have been finding that rest. Just thinking back to when we went to Mātua, and just your casting of vision and the talk of legacy, that was the thing for me that I really loved. And the preparation that's being made on your whenua, not for you, but for your moko and for those after, like to be talking and casting and envisaging what's to come in 20 years' time. That was beautiful for me. And it means that's the vision. It's so strong that, you know, it it doesn't really matter about our own lifetimes, I suppose, because it's a legacy. It will continue even after our passing. So that was just some thoughts for me and how I need to, how I need to build, how I need to prepare, and how far I should see of that vision. I should see the destination and stay fixed on that. Stay fixed on that destination and build and prepare for that to come to pass, whether it's through me or through, my succession. It's okay. The vision will still be fulfilled. Yeah, that was probably the main thing. I loved the first night around the Pūrākau. It just took me back to my first year when I started in Ngā Morangi. Reminded me of all of those things I started to learn about stories that were connected to my own events in my life. It's definitely sent me on a path of working inward, working on the things inward, and allowing those things to come to the surface. And to be dealt with in order to have the character that I need as a leader, over the skills. So I love that. And it's very challenging, and it makes me very uncomfortable. But I'm still here. And year 3 kind of like feels more like year 1 all over again, just the third time. I'm doing year 1 for the third time. I don't think it's very different in Ngā Pū. It's not like I'm trying to get some kind of qualification in any way. It's just a process of transformation, and also a journey of discovery. But this year is so exciting too, just because of the diversity and leadership that is sitting here amongst us, and just everything. I'm just going to soak it up. I'll be like a sponge this year. I'm soaking it up from you guys. So, Tomokanga, Aotea, Whare, it doesn't really matter. I feel like I'm at the Tomokanga anyway. And also, just thinking of dream and vision, one thing I've dreamt of and been wanting to do for so many years is get out of the country. I've never left the country, and up until recently, I wasn't able to leave the country as well, just due to my past convictions and all the legal stuff that I had to go through over the years. But I was invited by Ngā Waka and Danielle to come with them to Tahiti. And I was like, how would I even do that? Bro, can you talk out there, cuz? I can't hear myself talking. It's really exciting. Anyway, I asked our church and whānau if they could commit it to prayer, and it's coming to pass. Yep, I'll have my passport in a couple of days, and through God's grace, I'll go to get there, and through all my amazing friends and whānau that have been fundraising and helping this happen. I asked for prayer, but I got faith in action from all my whānau around me, and so plus lots of encouragement. So not only do I get to leave this country very soon, I get to go to the place that I wanted to go anyway, and that I've dreamed of going to. So can't wait. I'll be with Ngā Waka and Danielle and Raiatea. Yeah, I've been trying to think of all sorts of ways of getting there. If I could stow away on a waka, maybe waka can get me there. Hey, but God has better plans. I get to go on a plane. So yeah, I'm excited. Still so much to unpack from last week. From the Huia Māori. But it's also left an impression on my heart, and I know it's helping me in terms of the direction I'll be going throughout this year. That's me.
Awesome.
Well, it's nice to meet everybody. Rewai, Chamo, Luke, Greg, Joanne, Ngā Waka, Danielle, Betsy, Porone. I wrote everybody's name down because I'm old, so I don't want to forget. Okay. So I hope I didn't forget anybody. No, I got everybody. Two Joshes and Town was Josh.
That's
And-
Joel.
Oh, Fletcher.
Two Joels.
Two Joels. So yeah. So what's the cap? Shush.
Sorry.
Hey, I've been quiet your whole time, eh? One thing that you'll probably learn about me is I'll say exactly what I mean to say it. Okay, you will know exactly where you stand with me at all times. Okay. So that's one leadership quality that I will probably possess. But I just wanted to thank everybody. I don't know how to do it in Māori, so yeah. So thanks to everybody's patience for me. Well, what stood out for me, I'll make it short and sharp. What stood out for me was the first night of the Pūrākau. How Riwa and I already spoke about it. The Joanne's story with her 5-year-old and then the 8-year-old. Everybody was there. And the Matua, what was his name? Matua
Te Hurihanga?
Tuhurihanga.
Yeah.
Yeah, he dropped some gems. He dropped some gems the whole time. He's a great speaker. Yeah, he's just amazing. Hopefully, I'm like that when I'm that old. And yeah, thanks for everyone. Thanks everyone. I've been praying for Joel to get his passport so he can go to Tahiti with Ngāwaka. That's all he talks about, Ngāwaka. That's all he talks about. And I can see the hope draining from his face as the days tick by and the money doesn't come in, but now the money's coming and now he won't shut up about it even now. So it's like, you're welcome. So that's all for me. I'm happy for the brother that he gets to go, even though he's a criminal, that he gets he gets to go.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'll fight. You want to say something?
Kia ora koutou. I'm sorry that I didn't make it to the up to the hui. But what really resonated with me and what really encouraged me is that my girl came home and she experienced some great things that were discussed up there that were shared. And one of the things, Rewai, was that she couldn't stop talking about when you were talking about the whenua. She is the whenua is hers, and it's for her mokopuna to come. And so when she came home, she was full of, I don't know, she was so blessed. It was just so good to see her. And she said, Mum, I didn't have to be in the forefront. All I had to do was just sit back and soak in everything that everybody was sharing. Because most of the time here, she's always out there in the forefront. And so it was really good for her to relax and just hear and take into her heart. One of the most precious parts of her hikoi up there was her time with Law. And she told me that she actually really got to know who Law is and know what sort of person she was. And Law, she really enjoyed your company and she just loves you. And it was a precious time for you two to spend up there. And she was so glad that she came up and she met with you because you haven't had that opportunity together. But next time I'll be there. So thank you.
Nice.
Lorraine, number 2. Oh, wait.
Kia ora. Thank you guys for having me and my noisy kids up there. I really appreciated it. And just for making time for me. I know like all of you's made some time for me and gave me some gems. But what really stuck out for me was the history and how much it aligns with God. I was always in my head like, oh, how does the Māori culture resonate with Jesus and with God? And I picked up a lot through the history and just how culturally sound we are with God. So yeah, and yeah, definitely spending time with Carla. I've been around there for 6 months and we haven't really spent much time together. So that was really cool to hang out with her and everybody else too. So yeah, thank yous all for having us.
Good on, Joanne.
Kia ora. So our first night up there with the story and the event, you know, that was really good. Actually, when I got back to work, I was able to sort of use that with one of my colleagues, and so discussing some of the things that she's going through. She's Māori Christian also. And actually, her brother was there, Matt Renata. So I work with his younger sister. And I really enjoyed seeing everyone again and meeting new people. What I love about when we meet other groups is the connections we make with them. I didn't actually get, to rest because when I come back, I had our friend's tangi. And so it was a bit draining, but yeah, the weekend just gone, I was able to rest up. And mind you, I did a lot of sleeping while I was up there. I think what had happened was my stops before I reached you had actually taken a toll on me. I always forget that when we're doing spiritual warfare on the whenua and that we should be resting up after we do things like that. And I hadn't actually done that before I come up. So it actually took a toll on me. Nearly wiped myself out again coming back home. So, I pulled over and booked me a motel and that, but looped from it. But yeah, really enjoyed seeing everyone. Looking forward to the rest of the year.
Beautiful. Kia ora, Tamo.
Good everyone. I'm good. I'm cold, but I'm good. Yeah, the weekend was awesome. We couldn't stop talking about it as soon as we left and got home, and that was like an hour and a half later. Yeah, I love catching up with you all. It was good meeting everyone. I just love how everyone was quite welcoming and accepting, and it was just easy to get along with all of you. And also the rōpū from down the line, all of them. It was nice to meet everyone and converse. I enjoyed listening to all the stories. It really provoked my mind a bit to think about those things, because I never really thought about them. And when we got back home, raining. It was raining hard out, so we've been dealing with flooding out the backyard as well. And also our little baby chicks are bigger now, and they were only away for 2 days, and like they're pretty big. And we had an incident last week with our goat. She must have ate something, and then she had a seizure, and it was a bit sad because she had a couple of them, and we tried a few things, some natural remedies, because the vets up here can't tend to farm animals when they're in that situation. It's so sad. So they did what they could. We took her to the vet. They did what they could. Then they just said, we're so sorry, that's all we can do. And she might come back to life and be all right, or she might deteriorate. So we were faithful in the Lord and prayed over her. And then a couple of days later, she was all good. So that was a relief. And we found out that she is hapu, so she's got a little baby goat in there. So God is good, and we're just really grateful His grace is upon us and on this whenua here. And I think me and Joel were quite inspired by a lot that happened that weekend, but one for our whenua is definitely to get out there and create our own garden in the back here. But it's a bit challenging with we've got very swampy, wet whenua out here. So yeah, it's the soil that we need to really work on. But yeah, and that's all for me. Good to see you all.
Yeah, can I just say a credit to you all for being present and participating. And like what Whaia Margaret said about our cousin Carla there, leadership is not only about the participation that happens in the front, it's also the sensitivity and insight and wisdom to know when you to rest and when to, like Carla said, it was nice being in a space where she could just be amongst the people and take time to listen. You've all shared in different ways that things led up to it very busy. And one of the things that can happen often, particularly once we start developing into competency in our skill and a particular, whether it's a trade or a type of thing that we're offering in a leadership space, is that we can fill up our calendars very quickly with a whole lot of things that are not necessarily beneficial to us. They're good to do because it gives us a profile or a presence or a branding or whatever. But is it strategically wise for us moving forward? So thank you for those that shared about the busyness. Joanne, that you took note of what's going on in yourself and pulled over and got somewhere to sleep, and it's a recurring thing that happens for us. So yeah, the success of our hui and the hui a Māori was having everyone there, being present, being in the moment, and just enjoying the time together. So thank you for all your help in making it function and run well. Just a lovely spot, beautiful spot there. And it was a privilege to have you with us and doing stuff there and hosting the other folk that came up from around the country. And yeah, so, and then later on having a kai afterwards when we're waiting for the plane to come and all that type of stuff. It's always good to be whānau together. And I think I said it. I said it to Joseph. Oh man, all our friends are coming up. Great, it's good. We're gonna have a hui together and have feeds and all this. So that was what our priority was: is having friends together and just having fellowship, breaking bread and having fellowship and just sharing vision. And yeah. Dave Tribbles talked to me a little bit yesterday and said he was just blown away by it in the little amount of time that he was there at Spetsy's there. So yeah, no, really tribute to everyone and really appreciate the insights and the participation. Yeah, so thank you. We're going to tie off our corridor from last week or the other week that we were together around the Pūrākau. So I said to you, I've got some slides to deal with that, so I'll work through that. But just to give you a bit of a heads up, what will happen next week is what we're meant to do today is our initial planning hui. So we've got a framework which comes from the continental staffing process. It's the influence behind it of how we do our planning towards our huis. And so our initial planning hui was set for tonight. I'll send out a link to the document that talks a bit about that, and we'll actually do that. We'll do that next week. So just to let you know that on the 26th to the 23rd, and I'm just looking at our calendar that I sent out the other week, is we've got our karanga whai kōrero mihi wānanga up here. And so we need to start working on that. That's at the end of September. And if we'll get our initial planning hui sorted out there, and those who are our first years will get an idea of the running of that next week. So we'll have probably a shorter time next week. We'll actually run through that hui. We are hoping to have it at Te Amo Haire's marae in Kaikohe, Kohiwhata. So I've already asked her to make inquiries about that, but we'll confirm all that stuff next week. Ka pai? Yep. So that's gonna be awesome. As we've done before, it's been like we've had some amazing opportunities and learnings that go on in that particular one. And there'll be some of you that who are more confident in that area will be drawing on to help the rest of the whānau as well. Particularly some of our babies, our kākono in the real space, and particularly around those different tikanga and kaua around the karanga, mihi and so forth. Ka pai? Am I being heard all right? I'm struggling to actually vote. It's quite sore to talk, so yeah. Just let me taranga, whakarongo or something, just give me a sign if you can't quite hear me. So what I'm going to do now is we're just going to shift over to our slides. So I'll bring those up, Josh. But thanks everyone for just giving a bit of an update. Thank you too for those that have already sent through your reflection documents. I've had 3 come in already. Remember, I indicated that for this month we'll use the wānanga as the reflective space in there. So you should be able to, as long as you hold on to that link that you've got for that, just reuse it. And if you're wanting to keep a copy of it, what you might want, this is how I've done it in other cases, is I've taken the questions and filled them out on a Word document. And part that's about making sure I spell words correctly, because I'm terrible. I've got dyslexia, so everything goes around the wrong way. And yeah, so I tend to type it out that way, and then I just do a bit of a wordsmithing, and then I'll drop it in. Or you can try printing out the document before you send it, because once you send it, it goes blank if you reopen it. However, I received the first lot, so some of you now have got 2 already. Yeah, so it just it adds to the spreadsheet that I've got, and I read those 3 this afternoon before we came online. So thank you for that. Is that a helpful process in regards to just taking top? Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it's just about taking, just like what we did here, we did a bit of a debrief about the weekend and how it went, but it's just get you in your own space to think about what's going on, what's happened with me, what's going on inside of myself, are there triggers, if not. And there's the question at the end, which is a really important one, because it's the question around, am I going to need help or employ someone to help in my community, or do I need to bring someone into the process? Because sometimes we can work through stuff, and then there are times that there's some stuff that we're working through that we actually need help by our wider community. I'll reference a little bit about that today in our discussion, why that's important. But it's that, again, it's about that self-awareness of knowing when you need to draw on others, just to give you that reflective space, because sometimes people give you they can ask some really good questions, because the questions we tend to ask of ourselves can be quite blinded by our own biases and blind spots and so forth. But having someone that you can just coach you along, and yeah, that's why that question's in there, just to see if you're needing support and ongoing support, and know how to draw on that. All right. Okay. Okay. Again, share this here. Oh, good. Okay. Can anyone see that? Thumbs up. Hey? Okay.
Open up your open up your slides.
Thank you, Joshua. Share screen to screen to. Okay. Can you see a big screen with green grass and Pūrākau and my name on it? Awesome. Okay. Thank you. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to tie off our kōrero from last week. Well, the couple of Fridays, Thursday nights are back, around storytelling and the stories we tell ourselves, which we've already identified as our pūrākau. Okay, why is it not moving? Oh, yep. So you'll remember I talked about the Tomokanga, where we start in preparing and our preparations for servant leadership, kia rite, kia takatū. The preparation of ourselves, our attitudes, a reflection on our experiences, and depending on the event that we're attending, past events and what those stories or contributions may have upon our lives. It's an ongoing reflective process as we come together. So at the Tomokanga, there is a waiting that is intentional. Some of you might remember when we arrived there, we were talking about how we're going to go on, who's going to do the karanga, who's going to be on the taumata and so forth, and this transition of pulling us all together and thinking about, oh, what's the kawa here? And I'm glad Ngā Waka mentioned in his intro kōrero tonight, there's often we're in other people's takiwa, or our own home papakainga, our home takiwa and kainga and so forth. And so we get very familiar with our own tikanga and kawa. And one of the reasons that this year we wanted to have all our hui in Northland is, Ngā Waka mentioned, is we often are in locations that are very familiar with us. And so if you're in Tamaki Makaurau, Ngāti Whātua, Tainui, Ngāti Paua kind of territories, we tend to follow those practices as we do here. So coming up home, where everything's completely different, the way the taumata is set up, where you actually stand when you're by the taumata there. It's not down the middle, it's by the door, and all those types of things are all leading into becoming aware with intentionality around what the kawa is and the sense of place, time, and of calling for us. Whakapapa is a good one to kind of think about what that means, and how we relate and build connection. The focus of the training that we're thinking about in regards to this Tomokanga phase is our personal character development and formation. The skills in reading our environment, which we've talked a lot about at our Hui a Māori there, and understanding the kaupapa. I remember John Cormier once said to me, there are three things you need to uphold and maintain when you're on the marae. That's the pōwhiri, manaaki, and poroaki. It's the welcoming, it's the hospitality, and it's the farewell. And if you're able to maintain those three value sets, then you're uplifting the mana for the marae and upholding the mana of it. What have I got down there? I'm just going to need to move the screen. Yeah. So those ideas of karanga, either wairua and whānau, koha, and wero are all the attributes and values and mindsets and frameworks that we think about when we're coming into a particular situation that we're facing. From a koha perspective, we've all got gifts, you've all got gifts and talents, and you've all been developed and trained, and you're all learning new things and observations, and it's what we bring to each other. And that's one of the things I really appreciate and observed, how whether it's in the kitchen or in the whare nui, on our papakainga, or even just down by the seashore, we all had something to contribute and to help with each other. So that giving of our koha, so giving of ourselves and the way we serve, and the utilisation of our gifts are very important for us. Right. Our pūrākau and the influence of it can be like a wheel, and it's about this: being an authentic leader. What does authentic mean? Anyone? Anyone want to throw it?
True to oneself.
True to oneself, yep.
That's what I was going to say.
What's that?
Aroha mai. Oh, no, I was about, yeah, same thing as Joanne.
Yeah.
It's because we have awesome mind skill.
Yep. When we're thinking through the different stages and phases of the Ngāpau framework, we're all going to be, depending on what's in front of us, we're all actually going to be all of it. And one part will actually take the lead depending on what we're bringing. And this comes back to our koha. But at the heart of whether at the Tomokanga, the Aotea, or in the whare, is authenticity. And this will need to be something we think about and how we apply our leadership, whether it's for an office or for a skill. And do you know what I mean by that when I talk about the office of leadership and the skill? So the offices tend to be the position someone pays you for. So it could be like myself in a pastoral role, it could be at a school role or employment role where you are in a leadership role because the position you've taken on or the role that you're playing, you've got your KPIs and your contract around that particular. So that's the office of a leadership functional role. The other side, which often complements the office space, is that you have a sense of urgency about what you are and who you are and the authenticness of that in relationship to the skill that you're offering. This is the gift part. And I've kind of laid it out in these 4 little kind of po that we have on the screen here, where the first part is understanding that the skill and the development that we have is unique. We're like a box. I'm not saying you are a box, but we're like a box that we come with things already inside of us, already packaged. And these tend to be tied to our stories that we tell. We've all got stories, positive, negative, but we've all got them. But that's the unique part about our identity and our personality and our traits and the value sets that we hold on to. Yeah, so we've all got that. And when we all come together at the Tomokanga, it's this weaving together of all these unique personalities in order to either achieve the kaupapa or support the kaupapa or whatever else might be going on at that particular time, the reason why you've gathered. So here you are, you've turned up, you're showing up, you're being authentic into yourself, and then you start this process, and this is what our reflective slide does that we're doing, is we have this authentic inquiry going on. We have to get beyond the packaging and the wrappings that's there, what we present to others and what we show to the world around us. Because we are this box, we are this unique package, but sometimes we put these layers on ourselves and we need to work through what is that authentic core inside. Who are we? Who are we really? And this space of an authentic inquiry is where we get beyond the packaging to see the genesis of our identity and our personality and who we are. And thank you to Joanne the other week, is we started unpacking that. You see that? See what we did? So we were actually doing an authentic inquiry of her. And just by the questions I was asking, she was guiding it, but what I was trying to do is, with permission, allow the unwrapping happen so that she would disclose things before us so she could actually see what's going on inside. And then what we do is we move into the testing side. Our stories must be tested. Because sometimes our stories hide ourselves. We hide behind it. And so our true self can't come forward. And what ends up happening if we're not testing them, and that can be just our own questions in our own head, and go, oh man, why did I react like that? What's going on there? Is there a layer on me that I'm actually using to hide other people? Because I like the way my box is framed. Yes, yes.
I don't know why someone's just left the chat. I was just waving goodbye.
Oh, yes, that was Tamohairi. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Are we okay so far in this sequence of processing? Yeah. So we're a unique box. We're packaged in a way. There's wrapping around us. Our authentic inquiry is about understanding how we're wrapped and what that wrapping does to us. And the wrapping is often the pūrākau, we say, to ourselves or what we project into the world around us. And therefore we test it. And Joanne had that tested. She was testing it. That process she was going through and the revelation and the maramatanga that came for her, particularly when she moved from the 8-year-old to the 5-year-old. Notice that we didn't do anything in that space, but she was testing her stories herself. She was actually making connections on what she just went through to get to the 8-year-old, and then she actually unpacked some more to go, oh, hang on a minute, there was something when I was a 5-year-old. So what she was doing there, she was allowing herself to be opened in a safe environment, in a safe context. She was testing out the authenticity of what those stories were, and then she came to some conclusions without actually us prompting it. But if you're watching her, you could see in her head that unraveling herself was going on. The brain was going, oh, hang on a minute, there's some other stuff that's going on. With the output really is about this. The authentic leader is someone who has integrity, one who is in a state or in a condition of being whole, complete, unbroken, and unimpaired. Now, thankfully, the work of the Holy Spirit, and this is where we get into the Romans account about this idea of the renewing of our minds and the transformation that comes, is that this idea of being an authentic leader is a lifelong learning process. And I'm sure many of us will say, when, oh man, why did I do that? In reflection, because, but why did I say that? Or, so all these types of stuff. And that's part of the process of our human experience. I think one of the greatest gifts that we have in this program and in our context, which in some senses is a deficit for other leadership programs, is that we've got a higher power that can actually help us as well. We've got a comforter. We've got one that will whisper in our ears if we're willing to listen. The teaching of Paul, that's a promise. This idea of renewing our minds, taking our thoughts captive. It's a state, and this is part of that authenticity that comes in when we're willing to have our stories tested. Correction, rebuking, all that type of stuff that the Spirit does in our lives as we try to align our hearts and minds and ultimately our soul to what God is doing in our lives. But that's the process, is you're wanting to be authentic in your leadership. We are not impaired by brokenness. We are not impaired by not being complete or whole. As we talked about the other week, there's often someone who is broken and hasn't taken the time to work through it, bleed out on other people. And it comes out in their language, it comes out in their posture, it comes out in the way we try to avoid different situations or deflect and reflect and all that type of stuff. Kapai? So when I'm talking about this being authentic in ourselves and our leadership space and how we deal with our pūrākau and so forth, these are the four pillars that we're referring to in relationship. That you are unique, we're packaged in a particular way, and the wrapping around us is either of our own doing or the doing of others, but we need to test that. Our authentic inquiry is this process of testing and seeing what our identity is and testing the stories that we tell ourselves. And then we actually have to test them to see if they're valid. With the idea being, is we're allowed to be moved by the Spirit of God to bring healing and transformation to us. So, our stories are the meanings we give things that happen in our lives. And I'll frame it. I think I've got the next one here. I'll frame it. Yeah. So here's what we're going to do it. We're going to unpack it. Have you seen this this Chinese, I think it's Chinese or Japanese, it's a teaser. Because if you actually put your fingers on either side of it, you get stuck. You actually need someone else to get out of it. And it's like a trap or a snare. It's a thing that happens that comes from our stories that we trap ourselves. And Timothy talks about this in 2 Timothy 2:22, where Satan, the father of lies, sets about snares and traps in our lives to let us live. It's encouraging us to live less than what we need to be. that encourage us to be less than how God has designed and created us to be. Because Satan's plan is for us not to live in our plans and purposes that God has designed us to be. He wants us to be distracted from it. Whereas what we're doing here is we're actually going to unpack our pūrākau, and one of those first things is thinking about the snares, the traps. Other places might call these our rackets that we have for ourselves. Now, I drew up a couple of circles last time on this, and so I don't need to go over this too much. But the creation of our pūrākau, the creation of our stories, comes from a life event. And then we create stories around it. And both I and Joanne talked a bit about that, so we've got examples there of that. But this is how these pūrākau, the genesis of them, is there's a life event that happens to us. It's either good or bad, it's one or the other, and then we start creating stories to the effect that you and I are story creators. We are story machines. We create stories about everything. Anything and everything, we create stories to make sense of the world around us. Yep. And here's what happens. The traps and snares that we create is there's a payoff in the way how we function in our being. And it kind of looks like this. I'm right, you're wrong. You know? And I suppose anyone who's been in a relationship long enough knows what these kind of conversations look like and feel like and so forth. And the arguments maybe we might have to make sure that, hey, I'm right, you're wrong, and so forth. On my wedding, on the wedding night, the eve of my wedding, I was at John Cormier's place, and the first thing he said is, boy, when you're married, even if you're right, you're wrong. I went, what? No, mate, I'm never wrong. Oh, well, did I learn something from that? And so this process of understanding that some of those traps and snares and things in our lives, that come out of our stories, is we want to be always right, and the other is always wrong. Or some other ones, just to run through them pretty quickly, is we want to dominate spaces or avoid domination. We want to win and avoid losing. We might diminish others. Self-justification, which often leads to stress. The cost of being like that, though, is that we think we're going to experience love and being affirmed. We're hoping for health and well-being and vitality. We're hoping for self-expression and happiness and joy and self-fulfillment. But our traps and snares that originate from our stories do the completely opposite. And I was at a hui a couple of years ago, and Sam Chapman, who a number of us know, who's worked within social service areas and at risk and marginalised segments of our society, says we don't have a housing problem. We have a relational problem. We've got broken relationships. There are plenty of houses, because there are many houses that people are living in with 3 or 4 bedrooms, but no one's in those bedrooms. And but it's a broken relationship. There's broken relationships around the place. And it comes back to this stuff here. There are some relationships that we know of and have been experienced of that are uncle or my siblings who always have to be right. Or they're dominating, or they always got to win. Passive aggressive stuff, all that type of stuff that we've talked about before. When we're actually wanting to be loved and live healthily and give self-expression, we want to be authentic when we talked about that authentic leadership before, we wanted to be like that. But these snares, which are these things here, are leeches to us and detract from our potential and the possibility. So what we're going to do now is break up into groups. 2 groups tonight there, Josh, split us together and just spend 10 minutes talking through what we've talked about, whether it's being an authentic leader or the traps and snares, and just have a talk through and reflection on those things here. Are there things that come to mind that could fit those categories? Are there things that possibly we may need to be aware of? Are there things that we might need to sort out? Yeah. Kapai? Kapai tēnā? So what Josh will do, he'll split up into 2 teams and we'll spend 10 minutes having a coffee while I go and get something for a drink. Awesome. Can you do that, Josh, without me changing the screen? Because I want to come back to this. Yeah, cool. Okay, awesome. Thanks, mate.
Who we in the group of?
Yeah, it's us and Josh and
Leroy.
yeah, anyway.
Oh, crap, what were we doing?
Oh, we're just talking about like just so what he was sharing around the stories and the authentic leadership. Was there anything that stood out for us, or anything that did it have us thinking of anything in our own life, or any stories that
That
have
might-
shaped our
Yeah. I can think of one.
yeah. Yeah, I was actually, it's funny, I've been thinking about one the last, I think I've actually been saying it to you too. Yeah, I have. And it was around the being accountable for everybody else's stuff.
Yeah, try and provide for everyone.
Yeah.
In a bad way though.
Yeah, well, the thing is, and then I end up doing too much stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have to do everything.
Yeah.
And I was, as he was talking about it, I was thinking about like, where did I get that thing? Because remember I was telling you, I'll get a hiding for all the other kids all the time. So other kids were playing up, and I was a part of the group. I'll get the hiding for all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it was kind of my and I was sharing that with him, with Dell, about that thing, and I was just thinking about maybe that's why I probably think that I have to do everything.
Yeah.
Like to make sure that everything gets done.
Yeah.
And it actually makes me afraid to let go of things.
Yeah.
Or to give someone else or leave someone else with that responsibility. Yeah. And which then just makes me tired. Because I do too much.
It wears you out both mentally,
Yeah. And
spiritually and physically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was thinking back to a little story that
Getting hiding.
get a hiding, because the other kids were naughty, but I got the hiding.
I was thinking
And
about when I was a young kid, and we used to be with my auntie, my dad's sister, and she used to make me and my brothers and sisters eat our veggies, and then she would let her kids not eat their veggies, but we had to sit there and eat our veggies until we ate them, even if we sipped. Yeah. and what it does to you, that you are the one that has to do what what people are saying.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah,
And sometimes you make the wrong decisions and what you say, what you're gonna do.
yeah, yeah,
That was a great lesson for me. Not that I liked it very much, but
yeah.
well, we ended up she ended up becoming a real integral part of our walk,
Mm,
because her and her husband came to the Lord
yeah.
later in time, years.
Also, you walk next, well, with them.
Yeah, we walked with them as well.
Gracious, very gracious. No. I'm still learning. I'm brand new, so have those fleshy
Like,
feelings.
even with like everyone that's been, everyone helping me to get to Tahiti, like I struggle
Actually,
with the
that's right.
accepting of that.
I know that. I picked that up.
I struggle accepting it. Like
Yeah.
it's hard. It's hard, and I have to do it. And even in my head, I was like, no, I'm gonna do it myself. And even like my own disappointments, it's like I'm creating those just to justify for me to do it myself. And it's actually I'm afraid of just allowing people to do stuff for me. Yeah.
Well, sometimes you let it go. It's hard to let go when you're so used to having to deal with a lot of issues, because no one else will deal with them, so you end up doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, which means then really I'm not really modeling
Faith.
faith
Yeah.
and trust.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
trust. At all.
Well, neither did I. I bloody my hands. I didn't do my usual faith thing, and I put my hands on it and bloody asked like Jared.
Yeah.
Just left him alone, but
Pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's amazing the stories and how they actually, looking back, I've been doing it for ages, and even though I learned this stuff, it's kind of something that I haven't really looked at until recently.
Yeah.
And because just all of this thing with the Tahiti and everybody is all helping me, has made that's an uncomfortable space for me.
Because you're used to having to do it yourself.
Yeah,
If people let you down,
yeah.
they say, yes, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And in that minute, nobody's doing it.
Yeah, but then I could be even aiding that too, but always trying to do it all. And not having that faith.
And all of a sudden, everybody comes together.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
next minute, everybody's doing some stuff.
Yeah. I have to
this tea's beautiful, by the way. It's a
it's-
double tea bag, eh?
It's definitely something good to look at. Yeah. And remind myself of that too. It's okay. Let go.
So an experience that shaped me with the leadership thing was when I became the captain of the School of Hard Knocks team, and I had to put my finger out of my butt and stop being. I was just rude to everybody. I was rude to all my teammates. You're not even training, bro. Blah blah blah. Stop drinking on the weekend. Well, even though I was drinking on the weekend, and then when I was like, I had to put my finger out, and but also my father. My father. Yeah. My father, the no complaining, just do it. But yeah, that turns into toxic as well. Because then it made me expect the same of everyone else. When it's seldom that anyone else will put the same energy in that you put in. Or want it as badly as you want it, or so then you have to put your hands on it, and then it takes away from the faith. So, but this isn't about faith; it's about leadership. So, just those two. Just right now. I've always had the confidence, though. I've always had the confidence in the voice to go first and do things first and be at the front. I think so. And other people would say that as well.
Yeah.
What about you, Leroy? Yo, what experiences shaped you into becoming a leader?
Or Josh.
Oh,
No,
Josh.
Josh, 'cause, We was just holding the space for us. I think it's just for us. Mm.
It was very concentrating.
Sorry, I've just been sorting out some IT stuff. Probably just parents and family. Kind of grew up in areas where they're all leading and stuff, so just taking on some stuff that they've kind of done, seen mistakes they've done, and be like, okay, if I'm ever in that situation, know what to do. But yeah, sort of those types of things. Yeah.
Cool.
Mm.
It sounds like me and Tom and the kids.
Sounds
What
like,
you say is me and Tom and the kids.
sounds like my son too.
Because they kids saw all our mistakes and what we did.
Hey, Greg.
Hey! Oh,
And big man.
Kia ora, everyone.
Were you in a different breakout group, or are we back
And
in another?
Leone.
Oh yeah, are we
And
back in the
Leone.
main group? You
That
know?
is Leone.
Leone,
Joe.
Oh, okay.
Like a lovely
Oh
wife.
yeah, we're all back together.
Lovely
Sorry,
wife.
we're gonna just.
They're coming in, I think. Oh,
Kia ora, everybody. Welcome back.
okay. Kia ora, Levi.
Bye.
Sorry if it cut in on your conversation. Josh and I were talking away, and all of a sudden we looked at the clock and it said breakout room for 30 minutes. Went, hey, no, I don't want 30 minutes. And we had no way of changing the time on it, so we had to just bring everyone back together. So let's just quickly. Hi, Greg. Ngā mihi atu kia koe e hoa. Whakatau mai ki wainganui e tātou. Hi, Betsy. Have you been there?
Hi.
all along?
Yeah.
Oh, ka pai. That's good. So so tell us a little bit about what your reflection has been so far on either being an authentic leader or thinking about, well, just the stuff that we just talked about. So who wants to lead the kōrero thus far? Before we go to the next part.
Hi,
Aroha.
kia ora tātou. It was Danielle and I keep seeing Lorraine, but that's not Lorraine. Forgot your name, sis. Yeah, we went pretty deep. We were analyzing the Thursday when we first got together and sitting in a circle, but not really knowing people, knowing of people, but not knowing them. And that your conversation there with Joanna was like, it was hohonu, with Joanne, sorry, it was hohonu, but in some ways felt like, was that a private conversation that you guys needed to have, or was it the teachable moment? And from that, it made some of us feel like we didn't want to open up. And that I'm not giving that as criticism, it's just an observation of ourselves and some others. And then it made it difficult at the pōwhiri to know what our role was, because we weren't too sure that what the connection was between Ngāpau, Amorangi, and the iri Māori, and what part we'd play as either a participant or a server or in a group. So there was a little bit of feeling muddled, but also I think the main thing the three of us were in agreement on is, leadership is wonderful, but what parts of yourself can you share? And how will that be protected by the people you don't yet know or don't have high trust with, even if you have experience? And, for me, if I give a personal example, Greg and Leonie are there. For me, they're mentors, but also friends. And you've got a friendship with them too. So how does that play into this hikoi? And they're just questions, but I think they're important questions that are part of the discussion, but not really anything to do with the slides that we saw. But yeah.
So that's a good point. So on the Thursday when we had that conversation, you know what I did at the start before we went into that inquiry with Joanne? I asked her if she was willing for us to participate as a learning vehicle for us. because we're entering into a time of transformation, not learning, because learning doesn't necessarily bring change. If it did, all the learning we've done in our lives would have brought change. So in our context, if we know we're going to go down to a deep space, or the potential of it, that's what I'll ask for permission first before we do that. Because the learning is
true. And
yeah.
again, not criticism of your leadership or what transpired, but maybe a reverse look at it as the participants in the room, some of us, myself included, I didn't feel like my consent was considered in listening to that story. That's just my whakaaro, and it's just a thought going forward. But I'm also aware that at least 3 people in the room have come from spaces of whakamomori recently this year. And so sometimes the storytelling, we're not ready to share those things, or we don't know it's bothering us. And so our actions take on actions that we did during Thursday to Sunday are out of character, but they suit maybe where that whakamomori impact is having in our lives. So, and sometimes you don't even know how to talk about that, but you're still trying to be the leader that needs to grow. So that I'm just offering that. It's not a criticism on that Thursday night.
Yep. Kapai. And I'm glad you mentioned too, because I do want us to stay on kaupapa, how you mentioned it's not actually about what we were talking about today. And that's a crucial element in regards to why I've mentioned a few times, let's turn up on time, because we want to respect the mana of each and everyone that's here, because this is actually a learning. We're doing this learning together. We're doing this authentic inquiry together. And this is what's really different about that, is that if people are sharing, then we need to have the authenticness inside of us to go, okay, someone's sharing here, we will treasure those. We won't use them, talk about it in other spaces and so forth. And it's the journeying together in these opportunities where we can create spaces for transformation to happen, which is actually about a moment in time of going through something and exploring what that looks like. Kapai. Awesome. Others about the kaupapa tonight in regards to our authentic leadership that's challenging our stories and the things we've raised tonight in regards to our pūrākau?
So we went there on the Thursday night because our plane got delayed. So Joanne was in our little breakout session, and I asked her, okay, so talk me or share with us anything you want about that Pūrākau session if you'd like to. I'm just a bit curious about that. And so she very kindly did share that. So it was very helpful it didn't go deep, but she graciously shared about some things that happened in her storytelling. And it was just helpful. It was helpful to understand what everybody else already was talking about so I just want to say thank you for that. And then using this as a way of becoming aware of our own ways of being, why do we behave this way? I think it's a helpful tool, and that's definitely part of being an authentic leader, it's that self-awareness reflection that we need to have, like you mentioned before, if we haven't done that self-reflection and we're leading others, that can have an effect on the way that we lead, if we haven't done our own work. So I just want to, mihi to Joe for sharing that again. And I heard what you said, ngā waka, about maybe others not being as prepared or whatever happened on Thursday. But I would say to develop character and to develop authentic leadership, we need tools like this that are transformational. not informational alone. That's probably just my 2 cents of that. So yeah, kia ora.
Okay.
If like within the church setting, I think that if we, like we have a lot of people that come into churches and that are broken. A lot of them come in with stories, and it might not be appropriate all the time. But a lot of them, when they come into the churches and that, they just like to blurt everything out. I think as leaders, if we're unable to be able to sit there and listen to someone's story, how can we lead or be that person, be a person that someone can feel comfortable of coming to? If we're unable to handle, like we all come from different backgrounds. And if we're unable to handle people's stories, maybe being in leadership in this kind of role may not be the right place to be until you've gone through all of that stuff of the transformation. I hope that made sense.
Yeah. So yes, good, Joanne. So this first part that we're talking about in regards to the Tomokanga space is about our own awareness. It's about that self-awareness of what our blind spots are, what effect our own stories have, before we even go on to others, before we even branch out and thinking about our churches or those that come in. And your example that you gave us was just a small tauira around some of the things that we need to go through for our own development. It's our self-development first. This is the whole purpose of the Tomokanga. It's not about anyone else. It's not about other people's projections or whatever. It's actually about ourselves. And your example that we went through there, Joanne, was just a small tauira around the depth that we actually need to get to in ourselves to be authentic, and the willingness to actually peel those back and grow. And I think one of the things that often happens in the church is we put clothing on, we put this wrapping of Christianity and blah, 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 and or whatever that looks like. And we actually wear masks and hide behind facades, giving the projection that we're fine and okay, when actually we are weeping and hurting and pain inside and all this. My mind. And I'll just put this back up. Just for some reason it disappeared. Where is it? I'll try and put my screen back up. I can see it. You can see that one? Yeah, cover. Is we're wanting to be loved and be healthy and so forth, but what we're doing is we're doing these other things, or ways of being, and the unpacking is really about trying to discern what's going on inside, particularly around this stuff here. It's being authentic in the process of who we really are. Why am I reacting the way I am reacting? Why am I deferring? And now I'm using my leadership in a way where it's actually about making me look good so I don't look bad amongst others, or making me win. And often that's what's happening. And sad to say it, I see it a lot within the church structures and church leadership, is there are actually a lot of pastors who are broken and actually weak leaders who are not whole inside. Now, it's not to say that we're there or have achieved it, but there is some wisdom about being self-aware and to know actually I'm not healthy to lead in some of these spaces. I need to step back. And we all have those occasions where that needs to happen. That's why I think this year, our post experience that we've got amongst us is going to be very rich, because we're all sharing. We all know this, and my son knows it because he's been observing it for 30 years, well, no, 19 years with his family and his brothers and so forth, and others have got different experiences. But what this course is doing, it's stripping all that other stuff away and making us go, if we're willing to be present in the process and going, okay, Lord, am I as whole as I could be? Or am I allowing my stories to put some barriers up? That's what we're doing. And we're sharing that together. And it's, there's previous students who have gone through, there's some things that we've talked about with them, and Joel knows these, and I'm not going to say who they are, but we had some really precious conversations where we journeyed together through some of those realizations, and in the moment you go, wow, I've just had a transformation about something, and you literally see it happen. Their whole countenance changes and so forth. But it's the willingness to actually go, yeah, okay, I'm going to put my hand up, get in the court and participate, and go, I'm willing to see where this goes, and because it's about this stuff here, the authenticness. Now, in saying that, I've got some other ideas around some tools that we can use to help this process of the unpacking, and I call it this. Tūhonga Pokapa. I wrote it a couple of years ago. It was in light of one of my deployments I had overseas, where I was using all the Māori health motifs and frameworks, Mason Jury's Whare Tapapa, Te Wheke, and so forth. But they weren't kind of sitting, they didn't kind of fit and gel well with what we're experiencing over in Afghanistan. And so this has come out of that experience and reflecting around a way of doing stuff. And I use this all the time now, particularly the tātai ono space and the whenua space that's in this, which you'll see now. So Tūhonga Pokapa is a framework or spheres of influence that shape us. The genesis has come from Mason Jury's Whare Tapawhā. But the two areas that I've drawn in here is whenua and taurahiri tangata. Now, the whenua part, I'm not going to say too much about the other areas because most of us know what we're talking about when we're talking about Hinengaro, Tinana, Whānau, and Wairua. These two areas here, and I do have a document which is in our resource thing, which is kind of wider discussion on this that I'll send later. Connection and the need for community resources, and community resources is a taurahiri tangata space, is being aware of who's there to help us in this journey. And the whenua is about being connected, understanding our kaipō, our whakapapa, and who we're connected to. So if we think of spheres of spaces of well-being and hauora and so forth, and at the core of that, I've placed the wairua, where's Mason Jury's whare tapara walls of a whare, and I've experienced in the medical space where his intent was to try to get those Pākehā practitioners to consider the wairua part, but they actually go, we'll defer that to someone else, a specialist in that area, which actually defeats the whole process. So my diagram, I've got the wairua inside of it because we're coming from a wairua-led space for us as people of faith. But it's threaded, it's like the tauda that ties them all together, it brings them all together. But the same considerations and the questions that you would ask of your hinengaro, your tinana, and the whānau, regards to what order and what that looks like, and unpacking that. The taurahiri tangata one there is the connection of relationships that are not necessarily whānau ones, but they are meaningful in the care plan that you might be having, in the care plan that you might put in place for yourself or for others. So this might be drawing on kaumātua and kuia. I often, in the military context, when I was doing pastoral care, particularly if they were Māori or Pacifica, I would say to them, when were you at home last? When was the last time that you were connecting with your ukaipo or your maunga or your whare? When did you last visit your urupa? And inevitably, if part of the process and often in the care plan, I would say to their commander, go and say, right, boss, I want to give them 5 days leave so they can go home and just work through some of the things I've set with them. And so they'll go home and unpack some of the conversations around talk with their kaumātua and kui or significant their elders and so forth, as part of their healing plan and care plan. And then they'll come back and things will be kapai for a season. So the taurahiri tangata can be those wider social networks that we have. They can also be professional networks that we've got. So you could have professional practitioners that you need to draw on to help that learning process and the growth and the development. And then the top one I've got there is the whenua. You know, we all come from the whenua. And I hope you saw some of the stuff at the noho or the hui a Māori, where this healing, we heal the land, we heal the people, and we heal the people, we heal the land, and this journey of reconnecting and what it means to be connected to our ukaipo. It's a beautiful image. And now I've got a grandson, not that I observed this or not, but this imagery of a mother breastfeeding their baby. And it's the most intimate space for that mother-child thing. But it's also about that connection and that DNA transformation that happens in the feeding, the nurturing, and that's what connecting to the land is about, the restoration of our whakapapa. So when we're thinking about unpacking stuff and testing our stories, these are the spaces that now there are other models and other motifs that you might be familiar with. What I would encourage you to do is to employ those with the wairua being the central part, thinking about, okay, if I'm now going to test the stories, test my pūrākau, to validate them in order that they become more authentic, then utilise them and ask the questions. And as I said, I've got a document here that we can use that has a series of questions that might open up some considerations. So from a pastoral care perspective, these are some of the things that I would start working alongside someone as we're unpacking the healing and the journey process, and for us to consider. Now, coming back to our framework, regards to ngā pau. So we already talked about tomokanga, ātea, and whare. Tomokanga is the preparation for servant leadership. The ātea is organisational leadership and building teams, and the whare is strategic servant leadership, the growth and development of that. Now, it can also be seen, and we've seen these here, Pūrākau events. We have an event, we create a story around it. That story then shapes our personality. That story shapes our mode of operation and the way we function. Comes out in the I win, you lose. Enlarge me, make someone else feel small. All those comments that I said before. Yeah, we need to kind of work for those. Now, here's where what we've been talking about, our authenticness fits. The tomokanga space is where we start to go, okay, I need to unpack some things in my life, and the willingness to understand that and do that. I need to understand, why am I telling these stories? Why am I reacting the way I am? And then identify and resolve the snares. Because we've got there are patterns in our lives that we run in and do, that's our protective mechanism. And if you actually sit and watch long enough, you'll see these come out in people. And in our case, what we do in our po, particularly when it comes to our wānanga, I put a little pressure on, and Joanne can validate this. I put a little pressure on because under stress, we tend to take away our masks. And it's the stress part that reveals what's really there. Yeah. Now, people, we don't like, and that's why I'm saying this right at the start of our program is that now I won't do it if I don't think you can handle it. And I won't go into spaces that are sacred for you unless you give us permission to do that. Yeah. So it's a permissional space, but it's also used as a learning for the rest of us because we're journeying in this together. Because someone's example might be, oh man, that sparked something in me that I now need to go away and think about and reflect on and go, what's going on there? Why did I find such synergy in that? Both positive and negative. Okay. So Aotea is our life events. Those are the things. That's the whittle that's laid down, or the take that's laid down, and the whittle that we're getting challenged with. And it can be anything. The whare is now we have to navigate the navigational space around our events that are happening. What are the emerging stories? And therefore, if we're able to resolve some of the snares and traps that we've set for ourselves and it's become our mode of operation, can we identify them? But more importantly, can we be more authentically ourselves in our leadership styles and our giftings and the application of skills to a given context? Ka pai? Yeah, so we already talked about that one. So it comes back to this. Whatever stage we're at in our formation and development and the ongoing formation and development is firstly, you are unique. One of the things I do all the time in our church, I always finish off our service by going, remember, church whānau, your identity is that you are the head and not the tail. You're above and not beneath. You are highly favored of the Lord. Go out into this week with the full blessings of our Saviour. Know who you are and be secure, and then go on to the benediction. Why am I saying that? Because I want people to understand that we are unique. God has given us gifts. He's given us purposes. If Psalm 139 is right and correct, He's created us before we knew in our mother's womb. He knew us. He knows the hair on our head. He knows everything about us. And His plans is to build us up, to bring life, wholeness, and well-being, completeness. It's not to let us suffer in our pain and suffering and the legacy of the events in our lives and the stories that we tell ourselves. So you're unique. You're made up and wired in different ways. And part of that process for us is to unpack that and ultimately become authentic leaders. I'm firmly of the opinion, if you're a follower of Jesus Christ, you're a leader, irrespective of where you're at. You just got to learn how to do it in a way that's healthy and not bleeding on people. God has commissioned you into his mission. As soon as you go, yes, Lord, I'm going to follow you, man, that Matthew 28 is now our mandate. And I'm in this space, and others around are in this space in a kind of a professional capacity, we're as pastors. But even before that, Matthew 28 was our commission to go and make disciples of all people, baptizing them in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Whose authority? It's in Jesus' authority. I now give it to you. The mission, the commander in chief said, here's your mission. Go ahead and do it. And so to do that, we're all leaders, but we need shaping and growing and developing. And so we've got some here that are very young, in this journey and this discovery and exploration. And so hopefully they'll glean off us older ones that are around. So we've got some older ones that we actually need to learn from the young ones because they've got zeal. And it's like, oh man, good, someone's got a bit of life. And just the passion and so forth and everything else in between. Yeah. So, but the end state for us is that we are people who function with integrity. We're in a state of being or a condition where we're growing into wholeness. completeness, that we're not broken, unimpaired. And maybe we can experience like the woman that had issue, who touched the hem of Jesus and she was healed. Or like the woman at the well, with all her issues, with all the problems she had with the cultural ones, the relational ones, the gender ones, all those types of stuff, she encountered her Messiah who knew everything about her, and then she was transformed. How do we know that? Because she became an evangelist. That town came to know the Lord. Because later on in Acts, people were believing and worshipping. And it all comes back to that encounter that that lady had with her Messiah. And moved from someone who said, oh, we worship here and you worship there, to where now it became worship. It was an internal thing in her heart. And that's about being authentic as a leader. But we need to be willing to test our stories. We need to be willing to go through that. And that's what we're about together in this journey. So, Tomokanga, Aotea, and Whare. When we walk out into the world and we navigate this massive world that's around us and the opportunities before us, from a Tomokanga perspective, it's about understanding ourselves. Understanding how God has wired us in order that we can give an effect to whatever the mission and task that God has given us. Because when we do go out, then we've got to navigate the Aotea. Literally, my son was navigating the Moana Nui a Kiwa, you know. And once he got to a particular point, he went, oh man, there's no turning back now. All of a sudden, the skills, the team, the captain, the rigging, the hoi, all became very important to make sure that they could complete their mission. Became very attuned to what was going on. But they still had to navigate that. And you and I, as leaders, and leaders that are emerging now, we need to navigate, with the idea being is that we're building something. Because leadership's not about leadership in itself. It gives an effect to something. Yeah. Some people are leading, but no one's following in our movement. They say all the right stuff and they appear the right way, but actually, like, there's no one behind them. So you're going, well, what are they building? They're not building anything because no one's there to do. You know what I mean? You know what I mean when I'm saying that? So you're giving effect. You're navigating for a purpose, and you're building something. You're building a farm. You're building a community. You're building legacy, principles or values that we're trying to say. Here's what the kingdom of God looks like in our community, in our whānau, in our hapu, in the spaces we might find ourselves. So, from this part here, regards to our moving forward into our Pūrākau spaces, thinking about the events in our lives and the stories we create, what are the snares and the traps that we might find ourselves in there? And if we had time, we could unpack some of the stories that we've got. But this what loops. This is why our reflective part comes in, is important for us. Because I'm hoping you'll do this voluntarily. You'll take the opportunity to go, I'm gonna step into this and do my reflection, and do it in a way where we're doing intentionality behind inquiring about what's going on. And our events and stories can be recent or of the past. But the purpose for me in this program is to build authentic leadership in greater ways than what we've done in the past. And that's even including myself. The journey that we're doing together, I'm in part of that with you. Because as you're sharing and I'm sharing, we're learning together, and I eat a bit of that kai and there, I'm getting nice and fat, and all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, something hits me, and then I'm having to go through the process. So it's a us too. Teina tuakana, Mata Moa Pōtuki. It's we're all in this journey together. Sure, there's Tomokanga Ate and Whare, Pautahi, Paurua, Pautoru, but part of this, as I said earlier, it's a cycle of learning. It's not linear. Everywhere else does it linear. Do this, do this, do this, you get this. But for us, the most difficult part of developing leadership is in here. We've got to critique ourselves on an ongoing basis, and that reflective process is that with us. So, my goal and my aspiration for us all, and I'm including myself in that, is that in our process of developing and sensing God's call and the ongoing servant heart that we have for serving the Lord in the respective communities that we're in, that we grow more in our awareness of being authentic as leaders. We understand the stories that we have and the meanings that they're going to give us in the events in our lives. But we learn how to navigate the snares that we have in order that we can overcome them and build a better future for all of us. Because we're all representing different communities here, different generations. It's a time to think about what's the world we're going to create for us. Yeah. I'll take that on. Are we all right, Josh? Up, are we all back together? Up, so that's just tied. That's tied. We've tied down the Pūrākau over a couple of weeks, both in regards to an example with what Joanne talked about. We've done some kōrero about it. This may come up throughout our time together, like it did last time. I may just ask them particularly when we're together or in a conversation. I may just start asking questions. Oh, why do you think that? What's behind that? Because when I say what's behind that, that's asking you, have you considered what the story is and what's going on? Greg, you wanted to say something? Did you put your hand up? Yeah, so that's what that question is. When I ask you, so what's behind that? It's getting you to consider. You've revealed something to me by your actions. Have you considered what might be behind that? What might be motivated? What's that mode of operation that you're functioning in? And yeah, and if we have permission from you or together, it may become a learning vessel, and in a moment of time, we might find some transformation that happens. That has happened. I can tell you right now, it's happened. It's beautiful to watch, and it's amazing to experience as a team. We've done it with other students. We've been doing this since 2019, and seeing people transform right in front of us is just like, well, this is awesome. God's good. That's why it's important for us to respect the space that we have and whakamana here. Questions? Any questions, Whānau? I've spoken a lot in my... Yes, brother? Yeah.
Of course, I'm going to ask a question. So you're speaking about before the mask comes off when the stress comes on, and I know that's an army tactic. I know that's an army tactic. Is that because you want to see what we're like without the mask, or do you want to see like what our capacity is under duress? Or what capacity we can, or is that like what kind of person that we are? Yeah.
So, in short, this is a leadership formation program, and what we're trying to do is when you finish this program, you'll be aware of yourself and your snares and the stories you tell yourself. But more importantly, you know how to function in a way where you're creating worlds of possibility. Were you creating a future despite those things? And this part of the Tomokanga has actually been aware that there are things inside of us that actually trip us up. And if we're not aware of it, others are. We call them blind spots because you can't see it. I'm not saying you can't, but we can't see it sometimes. And so the point of me going, like an example, a couple of years back, we're doing this karanga wānanga, and then I gave a 15-minute notification saying, right, we're going to do our first scenario. Here it is. Be prepared to start doing it in 15 minutes. Whereas all the way up to it, I said, we'll give you about half an hour to prep. That was my way of putting pressure on to see what comes out. It's not about just seeing what comes. The purpose of that is to go, are you aware enough of yourself to go, oh, I've just realized I reacted in a particular way. Why am I doing that? What's going on there? So it's not about being selfish or trying to hurt people. It's just saying to the whole team. And the whole team went, man, they're just 15 minutes. I can't figure out a karanga in 15 minutes or a fight quarter for me. And I said, the thing is just about getting you to a point where you're reflecting yourself. So our wānanga are actually tools to help us be aware of how we function together, ourselves, as teams, and leading other people, because we had other, like our hui Māori we just had, we had people from other areas, other relationships. So it's how do we navigate all those R-tier spaces that are before us. Yes, so remember, when you're thinking about it, what's the purpose of this course? It's to help in the formation of our skills and our leadership, the internal part. I don't think I do it very often, but it does happen every now and then.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, no point. Any other pātai or second and third years? But do you want to add in something here, because you actually had a bit of this, so you kind of know what's coming and are aware of the context that we do. Yep.
Yeah, just kind of like you said around the thing of the operating under stress. That's kind of a real good space of being able to discover stuff about ourselves, and that's when we can start to have some conversation, or we can start to unpack some stuff if some things come up. Usually, yeah, what is it? Yeah, things arise under that stress.
Oh yeah.
Maybe get a bit snappy, or dig the heels in and don't want to do something. Yeah, or start. There was an example, I think was that last year. It was when we did the whakatipu rangatahi one.
Oh yeah.
We were all tired and then we had an activity that he sprung up on us after dinner.
After dinner, eh?
After dinner, tired, full, had a big kai, and it was funny how any of us reacted to doing the activity. There were some that dug their heels in, and then some of us that just started being clowns. And it was funny because I think I was one of the ones being a clown, and Simon didn't. Was unable to function and unable to carry out the task.
Yeah.
And so I kind of,
Just so others are aware, so we ran the strategy behind the youth workshop that we ran up here in Kaikohe, or up in Kaikohe a couple of years back, was we had about 60 or 28 young people amongst us from 3 different churches. And so Ngā Pou actually facilitated the wānanga for us as a genesis for our youth. So we had a series of I think we had 21 activities over 2 days. They're only 45 minutes long, so you had half an hour activity and then a 15-minute reflection each. So the team that were doing the groups in regards to the rangatahi had reflected on what was going on for them. But then we had a hakari, and then because I had already planned this, and then straight after we'd cleaned up, then we did our last activity. So everyone was full, tired from the massive day, and it just became so hilarious because everyone just like mask had fallen off, and people are yeah, it was funny, but that was probably the most precious conversations that we had in the circle afterwards, because there are people in there that were so distant when they came to where they just stood up and just shared, and like it was like, wow, this is awesome. Because we were just vulnerable amongst each other, and we were being clowns and funny, and others were, reverted back to being so serious and like, hey, what's that about? So yeah, it was good. It was really, really good. Yeah. You were going to say something, Joanne?
I was just going to say I was very shitty because I was very tired, and yeah, I was not a good example of being a leader for any child that was there. But yeah, it was good. It helped me reflect on my attitude. That's what I took away from it. It's like, man, I've got a really bad attitude, and next time I go in, I'm going to make sure that that attitude isn't there, which yeah, which is I like the reflection. That's what I really like about doing this, is the reflection, being able to see the things that I need to work on as a person.
Yeah.
And I'm able to take it into my work, into my community. So yeah.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Is there anyone else? Betsy still there? She's still there? Yeah. Anyone else want to share, or before we come to close? It's a lot of information to pass out. Yeah. Now, are we happy for this to be shared to the rest of the team, this video, the recordings? Copy? Just need a bit of a thumbs up. Thumbs up. Yeah, so it's only going to go to the team that aren't here, Roma, Paraone, who messaged in, who's at work, working till 10 tonight. And all of us. So we'll get a copy of this if we want to. So everyone will get a copy of this. We'll put this on our own page. Yep. That way. Okay. Goodbye, tēnā. So next week we're going to do our initial planning hui, our first one. We will walk through that together next week. So it'll be it'll be a shorter one. And again, it's just a tool. It comes from the Continental Staffing System, which is a global planning way. So it's neither here nor there. It's just something I'm familiar with in my own leadership development. So we'll do that, and we'll talk through the rationale why we're doing it the way we are, because it's not actually the planning meeting itself. It's just the initial one. So we're really just framing what this event is about and making sure that the tasks are assigned for folk to start developing and putting resources together. But that's for the wānanga on the 26th and 28th of September up here in Kaikohe. We'll do the same thing as we did this last hui. We'll come up on the Thursday. We're going to have probably another 15 odd, 20 odd youth with us, because we've got a youth event happening at the same time, and they're going to join us for this wānanga. So they'll be your lackeys, for want of a better word. And they already know that. Jason and I had a meeting with this youth group. So they'll be supporting our PO team and executing this wānanga. I'll be talking to a couple of you because you are very confident and competent in this space to help. So please do hear me when I get a time to catch up. It's only a small part, but this is our way of going. We're wanting to give value to the reo and to the journey for some of us who didn't grow up with the reo. And so it's our way of trying to encourage that amongst our community and our learning spaces. Ideally, we would love to have this all in the reo, but it's just not realistic at the moment. But it is an area that I'm wanting to see growth in, and maybe that's something that we could actually have. Yeah, see what this could grow into the future. But we've had some very good opportunities in the past with regards to our karanga mihimi and whaikōrero wānangas, where we do some learning and then we do up some scenarios and get people to think about what happens. So that's next week's. Then the following, I think on the 28th, Luke Morgan's coming in, and is it 28th? Yeah. And I've asked him to think of the conversations around the treaty hikoi and what that's like and the hazards and struggles that we have, because those are things that we're going to have to navigate. That's that part of that navigating space in different spaces that we find ourselves, whether it's in a professional capacity, we're in like social work or housing development or churches, or just being on our papakainga, sitting with the Hau Whenua Trust, talking through them. Effectively, we're giving effect to mana motuhake and all that in regards to our papakainga and just having to navigate all that in real time type of stuff. Kapai? Okay. Greg, if no one's got anything to say, would you like to whakakapia te huihuinga wainganui a tātou? Brother?
Ai, tēnā tātou, aroha mai mō taku tainga tūreiti, kei wainga mātou tātou tēnei pō. So yeah, just want to apologise for being late. I double booked myself. I was in another hui, but I was glad to catch the tail end of this one. And I'm enjoying that self-reflective, the reflective look at our leadership. So yeah, tēnā koutou for your sharing, and thank you Rewai for facilitating us so well tonight. Kia inoi tātou, e te atua kaharawa. Nei mātou muia I tō aroaro I tēnei pō ka tuku whakawhetai ki a koe, me o manaakitanga, mātou. So Lord, we thank you for your presence here tonight and leading us by your Spirit as we reflect on our leadership. Lord, we pray that we would continue to maintain that stance before you, Father, of being always willing to learn and reflect on ourselves and how we can be better versions of ourselves, empowered by your Spirit, Lord. And with the confidence and the courage to do that also. Lord, I pray your blessing upon each one of us, each one of our households, as we go on this journey together, as we grow our leadership, our capability and capacity. Your blessings upon us, our families, and our households. And we just give thanks to you, Lord, for your goodness and for who we are in Christ, Lord, that you've made us, you've seated us at the right hand of the throne of God and in heavenly places, Lord. So help us be the sons of God, the B'nai Elohim that you've called us to be, Lord, the sons and daughters of heaven, of God. So, Father, we just give thanks for your amazing grace and generosity towards us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Awesome, whānau. Those reflective journals that you're doing, that's on the Hui a Māori. So that's due by the 4th of August. So thanks for those that have already sent it in. Please do, I'd get it in if you can as early as possible while the memory's fresh, and because things just life happens. So that's due, but that's not due till the 4th. So, but thank you. Bye. All right. God bless you all. I'm going to go to bed.
Yeah, piki te ora.
Yeah. Hey, we're all good for August? Coming up? Oh, okay. Sorry. Maybe both of you. Okay, bless you, whānau.